Hello everyone, welcome to the Cyber Weekly. The Cyber Weekly is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity and all matters related to cyber. With me, Deogratius Okello, and Josephine, Olok, my co-host. I'm glad you made it. Today we have a guest. The guest is Wilson Byekwaso. Wilson Byekwaso is an IT professional with over 40 years of hands-on experience dedicated to propelling innovation and excellence within the dynamic organization landscapes. Wilson is currently serving as a manager of the data center at the National Information Technology Authority, Uganda, where he leads the team in the development and implementation of technology of the National Data Center that harmonizes with both National Development Plan objectives and organizational goals. Before joining NITA, he played a pivotal role in MTN IP Operations Project Hub role as a Wintel expert and virtualization administrator, where he contributed to the technology advancements in Uganda, Estamani, South Sudan, Zambia, Rwanda, and Business South Africa. He holds certifications, among them being CISSP, ITIL, ISO 27001, Lead Auditor, VCP's CMA, and he is committed to staying at the front of industry best practices. He is currently pursuing a master's in computer science from the University of Sunderland, and that is Wilson Byekwaso. Before we continue, Josephine, do you have anything to say?
Nothing except welcome, Wilson, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very
much. Okay. So let's dive into it. Wilson, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the IT industry.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Josephine. Thank you for being here. I am an IT professional, slash cybersecurity professional. I've been in the industry for about 14 years now, and my journey was a humble beginning. I started as an IT administrator at Deloitte, Uganda Limited. I was there for about 3 years. I got a chance to advance to ICT team leader at Nakasero Hospital. Very good, very challenging, very different space, very interesting space. It was in the medical world, and there was a lot of learning there. And after Nakasero Hospital, I moved on to MTN, a much bigger portfolio than the previous two that I handled. This was more of a global role, a multinational role. It was covering quite a number of countries in the South and Eastern Africa. The project was covering about 5 countries there. And from there on, I joined public service, more specifically NITA. And that's where I've been for the last 5 years, doing amazing things. And until this point, still at NITA. How I got into the IT space, it was quite an interesting one. When I started out at Deloitte, it was an internship. It was like an internship, and at the time, I was in my started out a bit early. Started out in my 6th vacation. So it was at a time when you have those internship jobs, doing nothing, so you can't help out. And at the time, I wasn't sure whether to go IT or finance. And the exposure at Deloitte showed me what the guys in finance go through, showed me what the guys in IT go through, and I was clear with my choices. And when it came to university, I went straight to IT courses, and I've never looked back since.
Wow, thank you. So your current role is at NITA as a data manager. So you've clearly really risen up the ranks from what you're calling the small role in Deloitte. What challenges did you face while joining the IT industry? You said you got exposed at Deloitte to IT and finance, but what were the challenges that you faced when you joined, when you decided that that was going to be your career path?
Um, I think challenges are part of everyday everyday life. But more specifically, the challenge that I had to overcome was that of wanting to learn. Here I was starting out without any formal training, or just going out and then you're learning on the job. And it was challenging at in the start, because you had to learn. I had to learn everything to the point that you can now be relied upon as a team member, right? The first 3 months are always the toughest, and even when I joined Nakasero Hospital, that was one of my biggest challenges when I joined, because they were using an ERP, Microsoft Dynamics, and I had no idea about it. But here I was, ICT team leader, and it falls on my lap. They expect me to be the expert. So yeah, the learning, it was interesting how I learned. For example, that case of Nakasero Hospital, why I learned was that I went around to all the users that were using it, and I told them, okay, fine, how does this work? They tell me. And one showed me their section. It was the ERP, so it had multiple sections: finance, pharmacy, medical side, and the whole hospital was of that ERP. So the users um, taught me how to use the system, and I became so good that now they were relying on me to tell them, to teach them about the system, because I went to all of them and got all what I got. I got a chance to know what they do in their section, and so yeah, I became good like that. And yeah, but it was tough in the beginning, because when you've been given a new role, you expect to deliver results immediately. And yeah, within 2 or 3 months, I was very comfortable with the system, and yeah, never looked back. So the learning is always the challenge, but if you persist and you persist, it becomes easy. It becomes easy.
Okay. As we have still continuing with the learning, you find that okay, transitioning from all those roles uh, to this current role, what does this current role entail? The one you're actively working on, right?
My current role as data center manager for the National IT Authority, is not so different from my previous roles. I work with a team. I lead a team that is mostly made up of system administrators and some bit of network administrators, but mostly they are cloud practitioners. We are developing. We are in charge of. We built a local cloud for the government of Uganda, where government MDAs are hosting their applications. So we are the people managing the platform, or the engine behind that, in the room or the data center where those applications are sitting. So the bit of learning that I had to do on this role came in from the side of electromechanics, because previous to my roles, I was mostly on the software side, some bit of servers, but I never really got into the actual electromechanics of data centers. And that's something that I've had to learn in this role, because you're data center manager, you are looking at the entire space, from electromechanics with servers, now the software. So yeah, that has been my bit of learning. So mine is, I think if I summarize my career, it has always been about learning, and I'm never afraid to take on new challenges to learn, because I find joy, actually, find joy and peace learning something. Remember in a place where I'm learning something. So yeah, I like the challenge. So yeah, that's
Have you found it easy to actually access learning? I know you a lot of learning has probably been on the job, but for things that are specific to being trained, or have you had any challenges accessing courses or getting your employer to train you? Or I mean, if you're looking at listeners who want to continue their learning, what advice would you give them?
So when I was starting out in my career, actually I remember one of my bosses, when you would ask him something that you could easily find on Google, there used to be a parody site that used to be called, let me Google that for you, lgmfy.com. So, he would type in the query and send you the link. So basically, let me Google that for you. These days, I find more learning on YouTube. YouTube is actually a very great resource. There's actually quite a number of great courses. You can find everything that you need on YouTube. So it gets easier. I'm never one for the excuses of that the employer has to train me first before I get to do the job. These resources are out there. The resources are everywhere, right? And they are free. YouTube is free, right? You will not have the certificate to show that you learned the skill, but when you are interacting with this person that actually knows the thing about it, they will know that, and they will notice that you know what you're talking about. So, for me, for the listeners, it doesn't, you don't have to wait for certifications. You don't have to wait for the material because most of all this information is out there, right? So you can easily learn your own. Personally, like I said, I've been in this space for about 14 years. But I will tell you that my first certification came in at about year 7 or year 6, you get, of my career. So in the last 7, that's when I've done almost like about 7 certifications. But prior to that, the first 7 years, all I had was the experience and the learnings that I was doing on job and through personal inquisitions on Google and YouTube and every source that is out there. Udemy courses, I've done those quite a number. I can't even name. So yeah, the resources for learning are everywhere.
Yeah, I think so. It's really about self-drive, being self-driven to want to improve and to learn. The So when you're looking at your career, you've kind of glossed over how you went moving, how you've risen up the ranks. But what have you found has been more important to you? Was it about being skilled? I know we've talked about learning and all that. Was it about being skilled or having a strong network that has allowed you to progress?
I will say it's both, and here's why. Opportunity favors the prepared, right? So you do not want to be given an opportunity and you do not know what to do, or you disappoint the person that has recommended you. All this learning, all this advancement, most of the advancement comes down to your networks, who knows you and what they think, what they know that you can do, who knows what you can do. Because at the end of the day, organizations are run by people, and that's why you have a section for referees on your CV, right? Yes, you may have all these qualifications, yet you may have all the certificates, or you may have all the experience. But if it turns out that the image out there, you're not a person of integrity, you're not a hardworking person, you're difficult to work with, trust me, no one is going to hire you, right? So it depends. So it matters most what your network is and what they speak about you and what they know about you, right? You want to be the kind of person where if they call up anybody who has ever worked in an organization that you're not even, maybe you haven't even listed on your referees, but if they call up and they call up somebody calls up somebody else about you, you want to be the kind of person that they say, oh, that person is actually okay, is at working, and and this is sort of unsolicited advice. They say that the best marketing is word of mouth, right? And word of mouth is spread by people, right? That's why the influencer industry is growing a lot these days. An influencer will go and say that I went to this restaurant, and people will go there, right? Because they know somebody has experienced it. So it's the same. It's the same transition. It's the same transitive or the same energy that I carry forward or I carry within my career. I make sure that I have strong networks around me. I make sure that I have strong people that I learn from, people that challenge me. I make sure that I'm the most hardworking person in the room, so that if anybody will say anything about me, if if they're truthful, it will be good things, right? So that person is hardworking, that person they're doing, you can always hire that person, you can always depend on that person, and those are things that I embody. So the books alone are never enough. The learning alone is never enough, and I've seen a lot of people or people that I work with, and they're focused solely on their skills, right? And they've sort of neglected personal networking, the building of relationships. They sort of neglected that whole part, and by and large, you see that they will not go far. They'll probably just keep there in one box, and somebody will just want them for what they know. And the moment they will hire somebody else who has more uh, personal skills and has a bit of a skill. So I think it's both, and both can never be both carry the same weight. As we're building up, build both.
Yeah, it's no longer enough to just be a techie and be in the back office, isn't? Yeah, thank you.
So when it comes to that also, I noticed you set up the website on recent. What inspired that?
Well, the website was actually an interesting one. It has always been on my mind to set up one. I felt like it's a space that not so many people have gone to, and I'm not one for New Year's resolutions. I'm not one for that kind of areas. I will start my goals in the middle of the year or in November or whenever the goal comes, it starts then, right? But I was like, okay, well, this is something I've always wanted to do. You have the time, why don't you do it? And yeah, it took me like about a day of hard work, and up it was. And it has actually quite opened up some interesting doors. Of actually got, a lot of people have reached out and they've said, they've been inspired by my journey. Some friends didn't know what I was doing or what I did. And yeah, I think it's brought me closer to my network. It's built me a stronger tribe. People that now know me have sort of increased, right? I've been to some functions, and friends of friends are like, "Oh yeah, they're the guy with the website." Yes. So I think for me in life, you need to do what you can to differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack, because it's cutthroat competition out there, right? So me, the website doesn't cost me much to put up, just a few skills here and there and sit down and develop it. But it has gotten me a sort of platform, and as time becomes available on my side, I plan to continue growing on it, developing it. I am I'm very passionate about mentorship and helping as many people as I can to grow or to share the knowledge that I have. So maybe sometime once my time becomes free. Right now, I have a bit of in school, so I have limited time. But once that is done, wrapped up, I will uh, be developing more on it, and to see that I have like a blog site where I can put up some thoughts across, and yeah, who knows who it will help, and the more the merrier. So that was the spirit.
I'm glad you mentioned mentorship. Sounds like you've really benefited from that mentorship and sponsorship in your career. Uh, Looking at a new entrant into the IT industry, what kind of skills would you want to see for someone who is entering into the industry, and then how would you advise them about their progression in IT? What should they be, doing? What should they strive to do, etc.?
When I was starting out, and I would say that I have seen this trait in other people. There's some people that have it, but most of the what I might say these days lack it. That drive for hunger for learning, right? Always learning, always pushing the boundary, always finding new ways to do things. And I was talking to some friend of mine, it's a senior, also right now, Argentina, and him and I sort of have similar journeys. We actually the same same class at university, and even him, he tells you that, man, sometimes I see these young uh, people starting out, and they want everything handed over. They don't want to put in the hard work to learn. Um, I was trained by my first boss told me that before I went to him ask for anything, right? If say I had a challenge, I needed to go with options, right? I needed to tell him that okay, this is what I found out, this is where I'm stuck. Could you help me with that? And that was a more beneficial conversation than I've just this challenge. I have not done any research on it, and please help me. So for me, if I was to send out a message out there for starting out, be a self-starter, right? Do not wait for things to be done for you because things will be done for you. You need to put in the hard work. You need to show that you're going to start working person. And you see, the little effort, I always use this analogy. Say, for example, you've seen people that, the artisans, the guys that break big rocks, down to small gravel, right? They have a small hammer and they keep on hitting at this rock, right? This big rock. And before you know it, a section has broken. They keep on hitting on that section. That other section breaks up a small section. Then they get this gravel out, right? It's not a one-day process that they get this gravel out, right? That somebody has one big hammer, comes and hits it, the strongest person probably don't get the small gravel out, right? But for the end result, it takes constant daily knowledge, constant hitting at the same thing, right? Building a skill at the same thing. So that's something that I would advise people starting out their careers. Be a learning mode. Do not tire, right? If it's a profession or something you should be chosen. I know a guy who is he recently did his internship here with us and he's in cybersecurity. He's yet to graduate, right? He's yet to graduate. He's still like in his I think he's finalizing like in his third year. But the things this kid knew, I was amazed. And this guy doesn't have any certifications, but because he's constantly learning, right? You can have a proper conversation with him and you think he's an expert, right? So such people, in my view, are going to go far, right? As opposed to somebody who sits there and then just says, okay, I'm waiting to enter into maybe IT or cybersecurity, but I need to first do my certifications. What are you doing today, right? There is material out there, YouTube, everything, blogs that are free of charge for you to learn. And if you're not taking advantage of them, then I don't think a certification is going to change that overnight. So yeah, that's something that I would need.
So apart from the desire to learn, somebody comes to you with degree in whatever IT, whatever it is. What other skills would you be looking at? Because clearly now there is a requirement for technical skills. But what other skills would you be looking at?
So for me, if somebody's starting out in their career, you don't do that, right? Because we are in a big class. But it's C things like if they are self-starters, they have this drive, they look like more integrity, they are hardworking. These are people that you can take a chance on, because skill is something that people can learn along the way, right? But there's some things that will not be taught, right? Things like manners of people, they can be taught, but I feel like at a certain stage, if the ship has gone, I will fear to take on such a person, to sort of teach them manners, how to speak to people, how to respect people. I feel like that's too much. I would rather have somebody who already has that, and then I can guide them on the hard side, the hard side of skills. And so these soft skills, I would want to, if I'm hiring somebody, I would want to think that they sort of learned them elsewhere, right? Maybe with just corrections here, one or two. But if I start from the soft skills, then go to the hard skills, probably by the time I get value or benefit out of them, that will be a long time. As opposed to somebody who already comes with the soft skills, already on board, then I just teach hard skills. So, yeah.
And they do say attitude is important, so that hiring for having the right attitude.
Yes, the right attitude.
Trumps the technical skills, yeah.
100%. Because when starting out, right, you don't have anything. Yeah. Carry your attitude, then the rest will be taught.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the right attitude, when someone is applying for jobs and they're having a hard time, what would you tell the person, and what steps would you tell the person to take in order for them to actually be able to secure a job?
The job market, securing jobs is not easy. And statistics have it worldwide that for every 10 jobs you apply for, probably one will fall into, right? That's almost what 90% of the jobs that you apply for are going to go through anyway, right? But with that withstanding, it should not stop you from trying, right? Every shot that you miss, if you do not actually put yourself out there, if you don't apply, you will not be considered. You must have that 1% chance or that 10% chance of being called, right? So keep at it. But while you're at it, if the job comes through, apply. But while you're at it, try and find ways to differentiate yourself, right? These days we have platforms like LinkedIn, we have platforms like Twitter. Instead of using them to post messages that are fun for your friends and whatnot, why don't you use it to sort of differentiate yourself from the crowd, right? I am a believer. Of the school of thought that sometimes it's better to attract. It's an analogy I got from if somebody's chasing butterflies, they'll tire, right? You'll tire chasing butterflies around. But if I want to catch butterflies, why don't I plant some flowers, right? Make the place look attractive. They will come to me, right? And that is something that we could use in our careers, right? That instead of you chasing, yes, you can chase, but also work on yourself or have a presence that somebody could could see you from afar and say, what's this Deogratius about? I need to find out, right? And it's good that you started this cyber weekly podcast. That is something that somebody could be like, yeah, that's something you know what Deogratius about, right? And that's something that can bring people to you as opposed to you chasing them all the time. And even when you go and chase, they already have some sort of introduction about it. They're like, oh yes, he's actually running a very awesome podcast. We know him from that, and that is something that you could use as leverage, sort of in all the noise. Because honestly, you see stories, people put out job ads for when they want to say 2 people or 1 person, and like 1,000 people apply, right? That is the reality. But in that reality, for the 1,000 people that have applied, what is your differentiator, right? What makes it stand out? What makes somebody look at your profile and say, oh, actually, this person is a bit different from all the rest of the same. So for me, it's about getting that edge or constantly people that edge, building, because now the resources around you are free. Yeah, your social media is free, right? Why don't you use it to sort of build your garden and position yourself that even when you walk into certain rooms, um, people know you for something that is probably good and people want to get you. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's an awesome answer. I would want to also know when it comes to, the South African proverb of if you want to travel fast, you travel alone, and if you want to travel long, you travel with others. So when it comes to teamwork, in terms of building, uh, how do you, especially when it comes to learning, when it comes to work, how is it, how is teamwork really important?
teamwork cannot be underestimated. I think it's something that is very key. There is no man who is an island. You cannot, you can only do so much when you are alone, right? However, with that said, um, I've seen a lot of people that hide in teams and sort of don't put in the work because the team is there, right? That's where I sometimes draw the line. And I say that you need a bit of both. You need to be comfortable working both as a team and as a person, right? When I was starting out in my career, when I was, having middle manager reportees, people I was reporting to that were in middle management. If tasks were assigned by my supervisors and my superiors, um, if they were individual tasks, I would have them to do them as an individual. If they were team tasks, it would be clear that it's a team task, it's a team goal. We all need to get together, and even as a team, we all cannot be working on the same thing at the same time, right? Say, for example, it's a project that you're working on. If you're working as a team, somebody will be like, well, fine, you get this section, get that section, and we all bring it together and then form a product, right? So even within a team, there is some bit of individualism, but teamwork is actually very important. As I was progressing through my career, for example, right now, the current role that I hold, teamwork has never been more important for me. It is the goal because I lead a team, right? When I am assigning roles, I will get team goals. Then I will sometimes leave it to them and tell them, you guys divide among yourselves. Me, this is the goal, the expectation that I have. Divide amongst yourselves, see who you pair with, see who you work with, and once what I care about is the end result. But even with that, you see some people, they call themselves part of the team, but they're not putting in the work, and it's abused, honestly. It's abused at times. So sometimes you feel like, okay, maybe as a team, these people are slowing it down. I have this one runner. If I need it urgently, I'll tell them, okay, I need you, get it done, close it, right? And so for me, it has been a bit of both, but it's important because now as a team, everything that we do it as a team. Even when I am being, say, for example, appraised, I'm not appraised on my performance, I'm appraised on the team's performance. You get, so I have to make sure that the team works together. But just that it hurts to see that some people abuse the team spirit and not put in the work, but want
No, when it comes to that also, uh, there are always egos with different people, and how do you usually manage such situations?
Well, that is a very unique scenario which okay, that is very unique. That will call for unique applications for every scenario. It depends on how the person approaches, right? What works for the person, or what you need from the person, or what their seniority is, right? Um, But by and large, try and be a decent human being. Try and do what you're supposed to do. Try and avoid as much conflict as possible, right? Wherever you try and be proactive. Try and, because usually, sometimes we may think it's ego, but yet you're the one who is wrong. And so always question yourself and find out, could I be wrong in this, right? So if you're not willing to question your own conviction, then that situation will escalate for longer than necessary, right? So for me, I always think that when egos come to clash, it depends. If it's me with my superior, me and my boss, I will give my view and perspective. If we don't agree, we can agree to disagree, right? At the end of it, advice, you can go his way, try his way, and there is no one person who is uh, there's no one person that has all the knowledge, right? I could have an opinion about something, maybe my supported, my peers have another opinion about it. If I feel like there is nothing much to lose, we could try it their way, right? It doesn't, they say fail fast but fail cheap, right? If it's cheap to fail during that way, it doesn't hurt to try it out. It may work out better, by the way. At the end of the day, I've been in many situations like that where you're wrong, where I'm wrong, and I'm like, okay, but I feel like we should have gone this way, but let's try it here, and it works out better, right? So yeah, so for me, for that answer, I would say apply every situation as it comes, right? But at the end of the day, try and wherever possible, try and foster good working relations, because you may disagree with that, but that's not the only thing that you're going to collaborate on. There will probably be 1,000 more things that you will need to collaborate on. So why would you let your relationship be destroyed by one thing? I was reading a quote for someone posted something, and I think it's in law or something. There's a Latin term for it. There are some issues that are non-issues. If you stick to small issues, everything you have to be right. You have to be right. You may find that you've lost yourself, or you're fighting a lot of battles. If it's small issues, focus on the future relationship. Let it go, right? If it doesn't hurt, if say for example it doesn't put your life in danger, doesn't put anyone in danger, if you've given your opinion, you have people who be insisted, you can say, okay, fine, let's try it your way. When it fails, we can come back, and then you move forward. So that's my answer to that.
So we've talked about this. You started off as an assistant at Deloitte, and then now you've moved up the ranks and you're data manager at Nita. And as you progress, obviously your responsibilities have become more pressure. I don't know if you're doing longer hours or not. We know how IT can be stressful. What have you? First of all, what skills do you think you've gained now that you're leading more people? And how do you manage, the bigger jobs, the bigger office, the more stress, more, but the pressures. How have you managed that?
So
what have you learned about yourself? Yes.
Sorry, thanks. So it comes back to learning. I want to call myself a symbol of leadership, because every chance that I get to learn about leadership, I have taken it, because I have found that in my journey that as you're learning, you find that there are certain ways you could have done better, right? There is concept of leading with empathy, right? And having some bit of emotional intelligence, knowing how to deal with certain kinds of people, right? And I'm not saying that I'm an expert at it today. It's something that I keep on learning. So there's been, I will forever be a school of leadership, because there is a lot, right? My goal at one time, I see myself, I want to hit like 100,000. The skills that I'm going to need to lead 100,000 people or 1 million. I'm not going to. I may carry some in my small, the ones that in my small team, but at such masses, where I've got different sort of leadership, right? So, like, want to keep on investing in terms of my sort of. I've done quite a number of leadership courses on LinkedIn over the past 6 months. Every chance that I get, leading in technology, leading in diverse cultures, and you name it, I've done quite a number. So I will forever be a school of leadership because it's an interesting journey. My goal is to see people transform. My goal is to see better, right? And that's the currency that I pay. I get paid if I see that I was able to guide somebody from point A and now they're point B. That satisfaction cannot. That satisfaction. That's something like dear to mine, right? So I'm always constantly improving my leadership because you think of and I always look back when situations happen. I'm always it's a big self-critics, but I always focus what is the best there. Maybe I should have done this way. Maybe I should have. And these are things that I carry on to ensure that the next encounter when such a similar circumstance happens, they're never the same, but at least I've learned from my previous. If I didn't handle it, if I didn't think I handled it better, if I didn't think I handled it well, I would handle it better next time. So yeah, that's something that I do well.
Okay. Since it's a cybersecurity podcast, I would want to know some of the cyber threats and how you usually manage some of these cyber threats.
Right now, the biggest ever threat that is facing organizations is ransom. In cybersecurity, we say that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? We've seen consulting firms like Accenture, right? These are people that are helping other organizations consult on other consulting organizations in cybersecurity matters. We've seen them being compromised, and so it's not a matter of who, it's a matter of when, right? Because in the products that we use, they have inherent risks, and if we are not proactive about managing and mitigating the risks that could face us, we've made fall victim. And when we fall victim, we may know how to recover quickly, right? So it's not a matter of movement. So ransomware is one of the biggest. I've seen a lot of vendors that have set up resources to it. These days, if you're selling to a backup solution, they tell you this one has anti-ransomware. It has ransomware protection, right? Where they tell you that okay, buying this solution will do an air gap. So what will happen is that as you back up, because usually sometimes the hackers they become quite interesting. So what they will do instead of going for your crown jewel first, they will go your data. They will go for the backup data. So they make sure they have that, then they go for your application. Usually, what happens with ransomware situations, it's been outlawed in several countries. I think even the US to pay ransomware guns, right? So they know that the hackers know that if they compromise your data, to abide by the laws, you're not going to pay them, right? So you're going to rely on your backups, right? But if they have your backups as well, your backups are encrypted, then you cripple, right? You'll be forced to either break the law and pay them, and or lose your data forever, right? So that is one of the biggest cyber threats, and that's keeping a lot of us up, including myself. Always looking for ways to protect us, protect us from that ransomware threat. And usually they say that your strongest point is your weakest point is the strongest point, right? So usually the users are the weakest thing, but we're trying to make sure that through constant training, good training and awareness, right? The users are empowered to sort of be more cyber security aware and flag out any sort of weird behavior so that it could be contained at the incident response team case.
And so best practice for you is user awareness and training.
User awareness and training, then
any other?
Yes. Always make sure that you're running the list. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Always make sure that you're running the latest updates. Always make sure that you carry out regular reviews or audits. There are times when you meet, maybe say, during the consent stage, hackers meet, get into your organization, and keep them. They say that most of these hacks, by the time they happen, have been there for about 2 years, waiting or learning about you. By the time they take you down, they know your network probably better than you. So, without constant audits or sweeps, you probably to be able to catch somebody who is lying awake or sleeping, ensuring that. Then also staying abreast with the latest cybersecurity news or out there, because once these vulnerabilities are discovered, people will publish them or publish exploits about them. So it will put you ahead of the game to sort of protect yourself free, as opposed to waiting for you to sort of experience it. And then the other is just access control, ensuring that your access control is up to speed, up to standard. Things to do with asset protection, things like laptops, how do you protect them? So, for example, if my laptop was pointed to the hands of a thief, right? Could they extract the data on it? What protections do we have on the physical assets, right? And then it transcends to even the physical security around the building, right? Do we have things like CCTV cameras in place? Do we have guards in place? Do we have people that are checking these physical assets, getting out? And all these efforts count and help to protect organizations. Small as they may be, they end up the effect of using the data will be much worse if you need to take care of this problem.
Thank you. That's a great way to answer that. So I think as we conclude then, so we thank you very much for sharing your career journey and all that. But I think there's a lot you know now that you didn't know then. So if you are starting out today, is there anything that you would do differently?
Well, if I was starting out today, I would I learned less about the value of relationships, or the value of having mentors and sponsors. That came in a bit late for me. Also, the value of putting yourself out there and sharing the little bit that you know, right? The little maps that you know. I think I also learned that late, right? And I see a lot of people that I work with, some these are brilliant people. If they put their voices out there in certain matters, and they have value to add. But because they are fear to put themselves out there, like maybe I'm not yet ready, maybe yet so speak about this. But you know them because you go to them and tell them, oh, by the way, there's this, give you thoughts about it, and you treasure their thoughts. But they cannot put it out there. So I think that's something that I would do differently. I've seen there is a gentleman who seems to be and he's done so well for himself that in a space of 2 years he's a manager at a bank, cybersecurity. I think, and he has only left campus about 3 years ago. But this guy was different. Even as an intern, he was putting himself out there. He knew how to market himself. He knew the things that he knew how to push himself out there. that for me it has taken me 12 years to get to my level. He's done it in 3 years. and kudos to him. But if knowing what I know now, I would do things his way or be much better than this time. Yeah. So yeah, those are those things that I've done.
With that, do you have any parting shots for us?
Well, it will go back to if I had anything bad I need to tell anybody about career industry, I would tell them to always be a learning method. It will learning or knowing a thing or two will differentiate you from the path in many ways that you will need that work, for your career. And don't overlook the soft skills. Make sure you learn them as well. Make sure you as organizations, budget may be limited to develop soft skills. People want to hire people that already have baked, or not have baked, but baked in certain areas, and then they can teach them the rest. There's a saying that you keep on seeing people hire for attitude and skills that they teach, right? But even if somebody is skilled, but maybe say the attitude is not that great, they will keep them and they'll hire somebody with a great attitude because they know that they will have the skills, right? So yeah, those are things that I wish I knew. I wish I could starting off with their careers, and it's a very fruitful career. It's it's one of those for me. It's one of those where you enjoy coming to work. I'm passionate about it. And excited every day to wake up. So yeah, it's something that I find people find.
And yeah, thank you for that. And we wish you we wish your journey goes right to the top. I know you're an aspiring, is it CTO, CIO? I know you're going to get right to the top. So we thank you very much for sharing your journey, and I know our listeners are going to take a lot from this about how to do better in an IT career. But perhaps just one parting shot is, what would you say to young women who want to get into the IT career? Should they or should they not?
I have an opinion about this. For women, I think the IT career is very ripe for them, right? This industry, this is world over, right, has been mostly dominated by men, right? And because of equality, the equality drive, ensuring that everyone has an equal chance, there's been a drive to bring more women to the boardrooms, or to bring more women to these spaces, right? I know MTN has a goal to have, I think, 50% of all their leaders to be female, and more organizations are going for this, right? And what does that mean for women starting up there? That the doors are open, right? You just have to get good, position yourself, and all will come your way. But if you do not get good, even when a door is open, the organization won't hire you, much as you're a woman, right? But if you're good, they will hire you because you know what? They have goals to make sure that they have the right women in place, right? Or they have the right people in place, and they have these goals. They have these jobs to be done, right? So for women out there, just get your game on, get good. This career, this world, this IT world is for yours to take. It has been melted for a while, for a long time right now. That's changing. That's really, really, really changing. It's changing fast. And even me, for example, in my hiring, I have to make sure that at least I have some soft skills because they will bring in something that the team that you probably don't have, a perspective that you don't have, and that is. And I was reading some recently. Somebody was saying that when people are talking about diversity, for example, they think about diversity being, or they only limit it to the skin pigment, either white or black. But this leader was saying that diversity is more than that, right? You need people from different backgrounds, and with that background, you'll be able to get that diversity of pigment and whatnot. May be able to get it, but you also need, if you have a room filled with men only, get women leaders in there, you will get something more beneficial out of it. And actually, this was a leader at LinkedIn. The course of thing was done by the head of planning at LinkedIn. She was interviewing somebody at LinkedIn. And she was saying, it was give an example that there was some meeting that they were in, and they were discussing about a product that they were going for. In that meeting, there was like maybe say 10 men, then 1 female, right? So these men went out to argue with each other, raising their voices, male distrust, dominance, and the head of the meeting, in measure who it was, notice this lady, she sort of leaned back, sort of like resigned after the and this leader said, guys, right? We've had you, we'll never finish. He asked this lady, sort of speak up, say, what do you think of the matter? And they say that in that 1 hour meeting, that lady's submission, because she did not have the not shout and whatnot, but because the leader called her out and asked her to share what she thought of the opinion, in her 2-minute submission, that was the best submission they had in the room. They went with that decision, not with her direction. So, yeah, as organizations, we need to ensure that every diverse cultures put in more women into these spaces, the ones that are interested and have the knowledge. And for the women, the doors are open. The world is your oyster. So,
thank you. Oh, thank you. It's been a great honor to have you on our show. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you too. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you, Del. Thank you for having me. I've had fun as well. So, yeah.
Thank you once again. With that, I would like to end the podcast.